Here is a bit of wisdom from your Uncle Cooper. Tires exist on a spectrum. On one end, you got too much tire. On the other, you don't get enough. Both ends are rip-offs. You're either paying for more than you need or needing more even after you pay. So if you want a tire that costs what tires should cost and does what tires should do, go right for the sweet spot. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
At TopCon, we know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Monterey, California paves way for open wheel action all day long right here on IndyCar Radio. My name's Nick Yeoman, our driver analyst Davey Hamilton. Rob Howden will be joining us on pit lane a little bit later along with Alex Wolf. It is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires as the field of 11 heading out of the racetrack for their second qualifying session of the weekend. This will set the grid for Sunday's race number 2. It's round 17 and 18 of this 20-round championship. We are getting right down to it in this title chase. Davey Hamilton yesterday for the Indy Lights Series. It was Kyle Kirkwood grabbing pole position. No real surprises in terms of qualifying. Kirkwood with 5 poles on the year. David Malukas with 6. And once again, it's one of those 2 Americans shining and qualifying. We expect that to continue all weekend long.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the 2 the entire year. I don't think it's going to change. But I have to say, there's a few drivers out there that want to end the season with some wins because they need to try to make sure their careers further as well. Besides, we know that Malukas and Kirkwood really have some good opportunities for their future. But the other drivers, we haven't heard a lot of rumors. And if they can win these last 2, but it just helps keep a ride for them or keep opportunities for them alive.
Yep, yesterday it was Kyle Kirkwood grabbing the pole position. As I mentioned, it is his 5th of his 2021 Indy Lights Championship. Linus Lundqvist grabs the 2nd spot. Lundqvist enters this weekend 3rd in points, 73 points behind our points leader David Malukas, but he does grab the outside of the front row. Championship leader David Malukas didn't qualify too terribly badly. He'll start in the 3rd position alongside his teammate Benjamin Peterson. So it is the HMD Global Racing Group cars that'll line up 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Qualifying 5th yesterday was Daniel Frost. Rasmus Lind ended up in the 6th spot. Devlin DiFrancesco was 7th. 8th was Robert Mcginnis. 9th, Emmanuel Suleiman. Stingray Robb was 10th, and Christian Bogle was 11th. This is a 30-minute qualifying session for these drivers to get some heat in those Cooper tires, warm up those engines early, and really trim out and go for speed. They can turn as many laps as they want. We anticipate that they'll switch to a new set of Cooper tires about the midway point of this qualifying session. Davey, the track conditions, what do you expect they are like as, again, pretty early there in Monterey, California?
Yeah, it's pretty early. You know, one thing that normally we have a little overcast, a little bit of almost, the sea fog covering the track this time of the morning. So today, nothing but sunshine, a few white puffy clouds out there, but track I think is going to be pretty good. Ambient temperatures really well. Track temp could come up just a little bit to help these drivers out, but there's been a few divisions on course already this morning to help get the rubber down, get the track per se ready to go and cleaned off. So they should have some good times this morning.
The corkscrew, very treacherous for all these drivers. It was just moments ago for Rasmus Lind, as it looked like he missed turn 8A and 8B and slid through the dirt towards the bottom of the hill as he's getting up to speed here on his 2nd Indy Lights race weekend. As I mentioned, a couple pit reporters that'll help us out here during this qualifying session. Let's welcome in Rob Howden. Rob?
Thank you so much, Nick. Great to be here again at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. As Davey had mentioned, beautiful morning right now, blue skies, just a bit of a cloud, 57 degrees here trackside, but you can feel it starting to come up. Everybody does have jackets on still, but they're starting to get peeled off. We're expecting to see temperatures in the mid-60s. Interesting right now, just a quick note here from pit lane, 10 of the 11 drivers have taken to the racetrack. The one driver who is not yet sitting right now on pit lane with a set of scuffed Coopers, that is Kyle Kirkwood. Driver, of course, qualified on pole yesterday, was 0.4 of a second faster than the remainder of the field. And one of the things about this particular track, it is notoriously tough on tires. If you're able to hold a fresh set of Coopers potentially for the races later today and, of course, tomorrow, going to give you a bit of an advantage. So right now, it looks to me like Kyle Kirkwood going to use just one set of fresh tires potentially here in qualifying this morning to try to set up for race number 2. He is trying to really, really leverage the good pace that he had from yesterday.
Qualifying underway. Let's welcome in our 2nd reporter for the first time down on pit lane. Good morning to Alex Wolf. Alex.
Well, good morning, Nick. And as the cars start to come by, and we see David Malukas come on to the pit lane. Rob talks about this being notorious on tires, this track, but this track also notorious for really being a track position type of race, and that's why it's so critical getting down the stretch of the championship to have a good qualifying effort, because the average starting position for a winner here at Laguna Seca and Indy Lights competition, 1.95, and the furthest back anybody has started to win is 5th, and you got to go all the way back to 1986 and Fabrizio Barbaza with doing that. So for the Kirkwood and Malukas championship battle, it's all going to be about this qualifying to set the tone for the 2 races.
Anytime you can get a Fabrizio Barbazza reference into a show, you got to do it. Love it. Thank you, Alex. And he makes a great point, Davey. Track position is so very key here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. For guys in this championship hunt like Malukas and Kirkwood, every qualifying session is important, but especially at the end of this season, you simply cannot start from the back and risk throwing away points, not being able to pass guys.
Yeah, this track, as Alex said, it is so fun to drive. Let me start there. From a driver standpoint, this track is exciting. It's fun. You know, it's just like anything. You have to take it to the limit and really drive this track to its full potential and hang it out a bit. But very, very difficult to pass. The straightaways aren't very long. Every straightaway has a bit of a curve to it. Just very difficult. It's definitely a track position racetrack, probably more so than any track that we go to. And but we've seen the most spectacular passes as well on this track, going back to Indy cars, back at Brian Herta and Alex Zanardi in the corkscrew. Pretty amazing pass, plus many others throughout the years. But it is a high risk place to gain position.
Devlin DeFrancesco is at the top of the charts currently at a minute 16.816. But, of course, very early in this qualifying session yesterday, we saw laps right around the minute 15 range. In fact, Kyle Kirkwood's pole-winning lap yesterday was a minute 15.023. As Rob mentioned moments ago, 4/10 faster than everybody else, as Lundqvist and Malukas were in the 1:15.4 range. And then very close further on down with Benjamin Peterson and Daniel Frost in the minute 15.5 range. So there is some ground to be gained in terms of catching Kyle Kirkwood in terms of pace. Just got report that Kirkwood has gone out on the racetrack to start this qualifying session here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. As we mentioned, getting towards the end of this championship, just 4 races remain. The points advantage for David Malukas, 5 points. That's it entering this race weekend. Of course, you can unofficially call it 4 after Kyle Kirkwood grabbed the pole position yesterday, but it has been a knockdown fight between these two, both with 7 wins on the season. Malukas and Kirkwood. Linus Lundqvist has 2. Those are your only race winners, Davey, and you mentioned it. I mean, we talk so much about the championship fight. That is where the attention deserves to be. But a lot of drivers throughout the course of this field who may be eyeing a second year of Indy Lights, or at the very least wanting to close out the campaign with a good finish. And I think we all would be very appreciative if we saw, hey, maybe a 4th or 5th race winner in terms of 2021 before it's all said and done.
Yeah, they're hungry, and at this particular racetrack, I think it's all going to be about qualifying. We see a few, Frost. That's somebody that needs a win. Would like to get up on that top step and try to further his opportunities in the future. P1 right now in this qualifying session. We'll see how that holds up. And even DeFrancesco, he's P4 right now in this qualifying session, but he definitely, rumors flying around about him as well, having the opportunity to go IndyCar racing, and no better way to give you some credibility to be there than winning a race.
Yep, Devlin DeFrancesco, his name has been tossed around with a potential IndyCar ride next year. He is 6th in the championship right now, 3 points behind Daniel Frost, and just 14 behind Benjamin Peterson. So really a pretty good battle in the championship for the 4th spot. Linus Lundqvist really all alone. Will be shocked if he doesn't end up 3rd in the championship. But Devlin DeFrancesco comes into this race weekend. He has had his moments. There's no doubt about it, especially at the start of the season. Had a pair of podium finishes, finishing 3rd in race number 1 at Barber Motorsports Park, 3rd in race number 2. And I think we all kind of thought, all right, he's going to be in the hunt all season long. But, Davey, those are the only 2 podiums that Devlin DeFrancesco has had. Has shown some pace at times, but just kind of consistently behind, the 3 drivers that we've been watching win races all season long.
Yeah, no question about it. As you said, came out really strong, had a lot of high expectations for DeFrancesco in this series, and just really flattened off. Really, found himself mid-pack to even farther back. Majority of the races just isn't where he wanted to be or where he started the season out. So, like I say, no better way to get some more credibility than try to win a few of these last races that they have on the schedule with Indy Lights and put some just credibility, just for your peers and the people you're going to go racing with if you move on up.
Devlin Dish jumped up to second quick behind Daniel Frost, his teammate. It's Frost at P1, DeFrancesco at P2, as Devlin now gets into that sub-minute 16 range. And, Rob, we had a chance to meet the entire crew and all the folks associated with that 17 car for Andretti Steinbrenner Racing. And they've called it the kind of a traveling circus type deal. A lot of interested individuals that are certainly helping Devlin DeFrancesco. They have a plan to continue to mature him as a race car driver, and ultimately they want to see him in the IndyCar Series very soon.
Yeah, Nick, we've seen throughout the season new sponsors being added on to the car of Devlin DeFrancesco. So, Jones Soda, obviously, when we were up in the Pacific Northwest, that company based in Seattle, PowerTap, Hydrogen coming on as well. So they've done a really good job in terms of amassing the partners that you need, that platform of support to be able to move up to the next level. So Devlin, of course, coming over here to run Indy Lights. Actually, last year in 2020, the series actually going on hiatus, as we all know. He ended up electing to run the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, was able to finish second in that championship behind Stingray Robb, scored a win on the oval, ironically, at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and then made the calculated move to Indy Lights this year. And again, when the opportunity's there, if you have the partnership, you can get to the big show, to the NTT IndyCar Series, you take that opportunity, and I know his team working very hard to make that a reality for 2022.
Yeah, and Davey, I mean, it's the side of racing that it may not be as much fun for fans. They want to see, hey, the best drivers, the guys that win races, get opportunities and continue to climb the ladder. But, boy, it is so very important for these race car drivers and for these teams to, harbor those relationships, develop and reach out and find those sponsorships, because this truly is, unlike a lot of sports, it costs a lot of money to do this stuff.
Yeah, one thing about our sport, unfortunately, it's money-driven, and it takes all hands on board to try to find the funding to make it happen, and whether it comes from the driver, the team, the owner, no matter how, a marketing company, however you have to do it, money needs to be raised, and the guy that controls that money is usually the guy that dictates who's in that car, whether it's the driver himself or dictates maybe a driver of their choice to put in there. So it's what you have to do. You need the funding to be able to run these cars, and sometimes it's hard to come by.
So qualifying for race number 2 underway. Everyone's gone on the racetrack and turned, looks like at least 3 or 4 laps. Kyle Kirkwood was the final driver to get out of the racetrack. He has already found speed as he's gone sub-minute 16 at a minute 15.93. That pops him to third quick. Ahead of him, his 2 teammates. In fact, it is Andretti 1 through 4. Mcginnis, Frost, Kirkwood, and DeFrancesco. Rasmus Lind right now, Rob, the driver who sits in 5th.
Yeah, Nick, the interesting thing now, we're starting to see some new fresh Coopers being rolled out here, and we talked about track position. We talked about this track being tough on tires. Well, that balance really plays to how you kind of came out of the gate in practice. I mean, maybe even more so in qualifying yesterday afternoon. Practice, of course, being run on a carryover set of tires from Portland. No one putting fresh tires on for that 45-minute practice session. Everybody electing to stay on those tires from Portland. No qualifying sims. So what we're seeing here, really, when guys rolled out to start this session, those that need the more pace, that want the track position, are electing to use 2 sets of tires here. Everybody up front, got Kirkwood, Lundqvist, and Malukas, and Peterson, the top 4 drivers, all, I think, probably just going to use the 1 set. They started on scuff sets from qualifying yesterday, so they're going to have a fresh set of tires for the races that those guys mid-pack aren't going to have. 3 of the 4 Andretti cars, Kirkwood excluded, all starting on fresh tires. They're going to use 2 sets, Davey Hamilton here. They've got to find some more speed. So you do a quality sim, a qualifying run early, then you've got to make the adjustments. I guarantee you're going to see the cowls come off and some adjustments on those other 3 Andretti cars.
Yeah, without a question. One thing with the tire situation is as a driver, you want the best tires all the time. You want to put new tires on as much as you can, but they limit you to how many tires you could have in this series, and yeah, I like it. I like that you have to drive these cars on wore-out tires to learn really how to drive them and control them, and because it's more experience to be good in the IndyCar series as you move on up. But for qualifying, you have to get the car the balance right, maybe on the old tires. But when it comes time to lay that lap down, you need a fresh set of these Cooper tires.
Davey, where does this racetrack, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, rank in terms of maybe all the tracks that the IndyCar and Indy Light Series go to in terms of tire wear? Is it one of those that it's harder to keep the rubber underneath you throughout the course of a stint?
Yeah, there's a few, like Road America, there's some really high-speed corners that we go through that definitely, use your tires up. But with the elevation changes here, you got a lot of tight corners, fast corners, a little bit of everything here. The surface isn't brand new, which is good. It does wear the tires out, so it's one of the top 2 or 3 as far as wearing the tires out and making sure that you take care of them throughout the weekend.
It is a unique racetrack. There's no doubt about it. Kind of a buffet of challenges here at this 11-turn course, 2.2 miles in length at the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. And, of course, a little bit later today, the IndyCar Series. They'll be on the track here in about an hour for their second practice session. Certainly, it is going to be a very, very interesting thing to watch those drivers manage those tires throughout the course of qualifying and ultimately when we go racing twice for the Indy Lights Series Saturday and Sunday. Robert Mcginnis, the fastest so far. In fact, he didn't stay there very long. Kyle Kirkwood jumps to P1 at 1:15.655. And, Rob, he's got the track all to himself because I imagine things are a little busy in front of you on pit lane.
Yeah, essentially the other 10 drivers all on pit lane right now. As we had said, they going to work putting on some fresh Cooper tires. And interesting to me, I have a feeling that, obviously Kirkwood, I think, out getting that fast lap. I don't think he's put fresh rubber on yet, so pretty impressive for Kyle Kirkwood. I believe just rolling into pit lane right now, indeed. So all 11 cars, Nick, have come onto pit lane. New rubber going on. Our second qualifying run getting set to go.
1:15.635 for Kyle Kirkwood. 1:15.635. Then it's Robert Mcginnis, his teammate for Andretti Autosport, second at 1:15.766. Daniel Frost is third. Devlin DeFrancesco in fourth. So it stays Andretti Autosport 1 through 4. Rasmus Lind is fifth. David Malukas, our championship leader, is sixth. Linus Lundqvist is seventh right now on timing and scoring. Stingray Robb is eighth. Christian Bogle ninth. Manuel Suleiman 10th. And Benjamin Peterson, a little surprise right now, he is shotgun on the field 11th quick. Back to pit lane and Alex Wolf.
And we talked about the aforementioned Robert Mcginnis being up towards the top of the speed charts. He is coming, got another set of sticker Cooper tires put on. They just gave the car a quick once-over. Looked like they were checking out the ride height, looking at the tire pressures and temperatures, and right now looking at a tablet, some of the data as he gets ready for his next run. Meanwhile, just behind him for Juncos Racing, Stingray Robb getting a fresh set of tires on as well, and they looked like they were making some front damper changes on the number 2 car, so busy up and down the pit lane here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Robert Mcginnis is another one of those drivers, Davey. He is seventh in the championship, about 10 points behind his teammate Devlin DeFrancesco, a pair of podiums in 2021. Both of those came at Road America, a fast, free-flowing road course, somewhat similar, I would think, to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Big weekend, a big opportunity for Mcginnis, and as Alex touched on, he's shown some speed so far here in qualifying.
Yeah, P2 right now in qualifying as it stands. This is all going to change. When they come out on those fresh Cooper tires, the times are going to definitely start dropping. But McGinnis, he's another one of those drivers. Let's get it done. He wants to get some wins in. He wants to end up in the IndyCar Series. So the best way to do it, as we continue to say, is win these races.
The track has, again, gone silent for now. This is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires, qualifying for Sunday's race number 2, about 11 and a half minutes to go. Rob Howden, we continue to wait to see who the first taker is for this second half of qualifying.
Yeah, indeed, Nick, waiting for one of the engines to come to life to get back out here as the time ticks away. But it's been 2 years since we've been here with Indy Lights, and interesting talking about Robert Mcginnis and maybe some of the pace that he has here. We go back to 2019, and Mcginnis was in the top 5 in both of the races, actually finished 3rd in race 1 and 4th in race number 2 back in 2019. A couple drivers who he battled it out with for position that particular weekend. 2 drivers we'll see this weekend here in the NTT IndyCar Series. Regis VK sweeping the weekend in 2019. Oliver Askew was in there as well. So McGinnis obviously rubbing fenders with some guys that have worked their way up into the IndyCar program. Robert hoping to follow the footsteps of both Askew and VK.
Yeah, I remember that season finale weekend. It was VK who just set sail and dominated, but Askew did exactly what he needed to do to win the championship, and so cool to see both of those drivers competing in the NTT IndyCar Series. Of course, VK still with Ed Carpenter Racing. Oliver Askew getting an opportunity to run for Ray Hall Letterman Landing and Racing in that Hy-Vee machine. And Davey, yesterday in practice, he was in the top 10. Oliver looks like he's got a chance to be pretty strong this weekend.
Yeah, it's great to see him back, having another opportunity. As we know, the bit of his story where he had the opportunity with a really great team with McLaren, Schmidt-Peterson program, but unfortunately, suffered an accident with a concussion and just wasn't able to drive to his capabilities, really, at the end of the day. And it's one of those situations where it's hard. Do you tell your team that you may have a concussion, or do you want to keep racing? And it's a no-win either way. So went through some tough times right there, but it's great to see him back in the car. As you said, the top, I think he maybe even seventh quick yesterday in practicing that Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan entry. And good to see him back. And as we know, VK, he's had an up and down year. He's made some mistakes for sure. Had some brilliance, moments of brilliance by winning the race at Indianapolis on the road course. So he's a guy that every week gets better and better.
Davey, that Ray Hall team, they've got some interesting, decisions to make in the offseason with that 45 car. Of course, they're going to expand to 3 cars full time, and they've had 3 different drivers behind the wheel of that car this year, and all 3 of them have looked good. Of course, it was Santino Ferrucci early. Christian Lundgaard came over at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course, and he was strong. And then, of course, Askew has had his moments here at the end of the season. Tough decision, I would say, for Bobby Rahal, Mike Lanigan, and David Letterman heading into the offseason.
Yeah, I don't know if it's tough or they're in the driver's seat because they have a choice of 3 really good drivers. I mean, I don't think they can make a wrong decision. Now, I know the drivers are definitely more, nervous than the team owners because they know that they're going to get a good one. They want to pick the best that fits with their program. But it is a difficult decision just knowing which, when they're all so good, which one to pick.
Let's see, about 8.5 minutes to go in qualifying, and Rob Howden, it seemed like everybody up and down pit lane had the exact same idea. It's go time in terms of Indy Lights qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. David Maluk is leading the whole HMD and Global Motorsports group out quickly. Then Kyle Kirkwood from Andretti Autosport following them out. A little bit of a gap back to the remainder of the field. Devlin DeFrancesco is the next to roll, but indeed, with the time winding down, time to go to work. We'll see what happens in terms for qualifying for race number 2.
Of course, all these drivers right now on outlaps. Davey, what's the focus when you're leaving pit lane for these drivers to get up to speed? How careful are you on these outlaps, and what are you looking to do to make sure those cars are as perfect as they can possibly be for this stretch run and qualifying?
Yeah, well, the first thing you do is get the proper heat in those tires before you really try to lay a lap down to make sure they have full potential and full grip of the car. But then secondly, you really need to make sure that you have good racetrack. Drafting doesn't help you on this racetrack, so trying to get a draft on somebody to get additional speed does not help. So just make sure you're spread out, that you don't run into any slower cars or traffic, and just hit all your marks. We don't have very much time left to make sure that you don't make any mistakes and get a couple good laps in.
Yep, the good news is this is a 2.2-mile road course, and with just 11 cars here towards the end of the season, shouldn't be an issue, you would think, for these drivers to space themselves out and find some clean track, some clean air to turn some fast laps. But we will see as everybody kind of roaring across the start-finish line back up the hill towards Turn 1 and the Andretti hairpin of Turn number 2 as they will start their first flying laps. Devlin DeFrancesco leaving turn number 2 as we speak. We see Stingray Robb roaring across the start-finish line, so he will be on a flyer. Everyone chasing after Kyle Kirkwood, who is P1 in car 28, that blue and silver machine for Andretti Autosport. His fast lap at 1:15.635. That is what everyone is shooting for. Kirkwood is hoping that he can sweep the weekend in terms of pole positions and grab another bonus point in his championship hopes of catching David Malukas. Kirkwood, Mcginnis, Frost, DeFrancesco, Lind, the top 5. Then it's David Malukas, Linus Lundqvist, Stingray Robb, Christian Bogle, Manuel Suleiman, the top 10. Benjamin Peterson is 11th. Boy, seeing a couple cars nose to tail coming out of the final corner, Davey. That's kind of the last thing you want to do here in qualifying.
Yeah, well, that's being held up. It does 2 things. Number one, you're being held up by the car in front of you, and another thing, it's hard to, if somebody's really pressuring you and right behind you, it's hard to lay that perfect lap down as well because you're playing a little bit of defense. So there's 3 cars that we see going through turn 2 right now, just way too close together. I see the one that was running second. He decided to bow out. Going to give himself some space like he should, and then pick the throttle back up and spread out a little bit.
Yeah, I could recognize one of them. The green car that slowed and kind of got out of the way was Rasmus Lind for Juncos Hollinger Racing, and it was one of the orange and black cars for HMD, a Global Racing Group. Not sure if it was Benjamin Peterson or Linus Lundqvist, but they were the one that wanted to hustle around Lind there in turn number 2. So for Rasmus, the young driver, again, making just his second race weekend start for that Hunkos Hollinger team, he'll have to regather it as the clock is down to just 5 minutes to go. And, Davey, we anticipate to start to see some good speeds coming in. Right now, Kirkwood's fast lap at a minute 15.635. Do you think anyone's got anything for him?
Yeah, I think there's opportunity. They get a little heat in these tires right now and get that lap in like we talked about, getting some good clean air on and clean track in front of you on these new Cooper tires. I think that could be beat. So, but it might be beat by Kirkwood. He may be the guy that beats his own quick time right now.
Yeah, I don't think that would surprise anyone because he was lightning quick yesterday, and Kyle Kirkwood has shown throughout the course of this season when he rolls off the truck fast and has a racetrack figured out, or at the very least, it's a racetrack that is to his liking. Boy, he has been untouchable at times this year. He's got a win at St. Petersburg. He won at Detroit. He swept the weekend at Detroit, picked up a pair of victories. He run round number 9 at Road America. He went to Mid-Ohio and swept that race weekend, and then won last week in Portland in a thriller where he came from the 4th position, passed a couple cars in turns 1 and 2, went from 3rd to 1st as the teammates Malukas and Lundqvist nearly tangled, and it was a big win for David Malukas. And now the fast laps start to come in. Davey, it's Linus Lundqvist for HMD Global Racing Group. He pops to P1 at a minute 15.547, and his teammate Benjamin Peterson joins him. He'll nearly match the lap time at a minute 15.5. So here comes Global Racing Group and HMD with 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, don't count out the Andretti cars yet, but you're right. Lundqvist is another driver, had some success for sure, finds himself 3rd in the championship. We know he's a contender, but he made that attempt at Portland for the lead over his teammate Mcginnis. Mcginnis blocked him, and then when he blocked him and slowed down to keep his teammate behind him, what happens? Kirkwood sweeps around both of them on the outside. So, it was one of those situations where, hindsight, Mcginnis probably should have let Lundqvist just go on by so they didn't give up 2 positions to in the points championship to Kirkwood.
We'll keep our eye on Kyle Kirkwood. He is leaving the right-hander of turn number 3 as we speak. And he's got his teammate Devlin DeFrancesco in that bright yellow car giving chase here with just 2.5 minutes to go. You mentioned don't count out the Andretti Autosport cars. Daniel Frost pops to P1. He only gets to hold that top spot, though, for maybe 3 or 4 seconds because our championship leader goes a minute 15.241. That is David Malukas, who jumps to the top spot. So it's Malukas, Frost, Peterson, who moves up to 3rd around his teammate Lundqvist, who's 4th. And still waiting to see a quick lap from Kyle Kirkwood as he hustles that Andretti Autosport car around the racetrack. Rasmus Lind mentioned that he had to regather it. He jumps to 6th, and there's the big lap for Kyle Kirkwood. Davey, across the timing line, he goes sub-minute 15. It's a 1:14.831 for Kyle Kirkwood, much like yesterday, 4/10 clear of the entire field.
Wow, how impressive was that lap right there? Yeah. We wondered if they could beat the times that were stuck on there before with these new tires. Yeah, by a lot, especially Kirkwood at that, like you say, sub 1:15. Man, that's an impressive lap right there.
And Robert Mcginnis finds a little speed. He moves up to the 6th position at a minute 15.5, but it is Kyle Kirkwood who has gone P1 as everyone improving and throwing down some fast laps here in the final 90 seconds. And only Davey, right now it is Kirkwood, Malukas on the front row as we have seen all season long.
Yeah, no surprise whatsoever right there. Which one of those guys is going to be on the pole? But right now, Kirkwood's still a huge advantage.
Yeah, but it is only 0.2 of a second as Malukas, he got faster, Lundqvist got faster, but Rob Howden, they still don't have enough for Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how close Malukas and Kirkwood have been throughout this season. Just a quick little note while we wrap up qualifying. You look at the results, they are so dead even. 7 wins each. They all have 14 top 5s, and only twice have both Malukas and Kirkwood finished outside the top 5. An incredible consistency for both drivers, but right now Kirkwood having the edge. He has finished either 1st or 2nd in 9 of the last 10 races. Only finished not 1st or 2nd was that DNF while he was leading at Road America.
Kyle Kirkwood just reset the fast lap at 1:14.69, went to pit lane. And, Davey, we got a car off the racetrack. That is at the exit of the right-hander in turn number 10. It has kicked up a ton of dust. Not able to identify who that is from our monitors. It might be the blue car of Christian Bogle, as that car is spun back around and is going to make the hard left-hand turn. Well, it was blue. It is Christian Bogle. It's now blue, and we'll call it tan with a nice coating of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca sand on it. But Kirkwood reset his fast lap, Davey. He went 1:14.639 as the checkered flag is out. And I'm going to be awful impressed if anyone has anyone for him, as Kirkwood's already jumped onto pit lane. He looks confident with that race lap.
Yeah, and Malukas, he did get in the 1:14 second bracket with a 1:14.94. A very impressive lap as well, but nothing compared to Kirkwood.
Yep, Kirkwood P1, Malukas goes to P2, Lundqvist P3, Daniel Frost. He has crossed the timing line and brought that 68 machine back to pit lane. He sits in fourth. Again, it's Kirkwood, Malukas, and Lundqvist. 1, 2, 3. Devlin DeFrancesco across the timing line. He will not improve from ninth. Stingray Robb in car number 2. He'll go across the timing line and stay 7th. Mcginnis will stay 6th. Last couple cars, it's Malukas and Lundqvist who are the only drivers that have a chance to catch Kyle Kirkwood here on these final laps. They need to find 2 to 3 tenths of a second here on their final lap. We see Lundqvist leaving the corkscrew first, and Malukas giving chase, and it honestly looks like they might already be out of the throttle, bringing those cars back to pit lane. They are. Lundqvist across the timing line. That lap about 4 seconds off the pace. Malukas a good 10 seconds off the pace. So they were slowing down. And once again, Davey Hamilton, Kyle Kirkwood has scored a pole position. It's his 5th of 2021.
Continues to chip away point at a time with that points championship over Malukas. So just one more spot, has the best position to get down into turn 1 and try to lead this entire race.
Let's hear from our pole sitter, Rob Howden. He has swept the poles here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It's Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle, obviously coming into the stretch run, 4 races left to go in the season, getting every point possible is what you have to do. You have to maximize. 2 points already. You're down to within 3 points. Talk me through how good that car was. You didn't have to go to fresh tires. Held a set for one of the races.
Yeah, our car has been absolutely on rails this entire weekend. Man, we came here and tested in February, and whatever we did, we figured it out. I'm really happy with the car right now. I'd have to say that wasn't one of our better qualifyings. I mean, we had a 12-second gap there, and Rasmus Lind actually filled it right in front of us, so I had to back off a couple times. And even on that last lap, I was too close to him, so I actually had to pit there because no point of just wasting our tires right behind somebody. But no, super happy with that. We're still 3 tenths clear. Thank God that the car is really fast because we probably wouldn't have had it there if everyone had an equal car, I think. So hopefully we just continue this pace through the races.
Obviously, track position crucial here at this particular facility. Starting on pole for both races is going to be big. Is this a racetrack that plays to you as a driver as well?
You know, I tend to like really high-speed, flowy tracks. Here, Mid-Ohio, I think are very similar, a little bit of elevation, and I guess these are 2 tracks where I thrive at. So I guess it does suit me. Hopefully it does in the race. We'll see.
Hey, good luck today.
Thank you.
There you go, Nick Yeoman. Kyle Kirkwood, 2 pole positions, 2 more bonus points. This championship tighter and tighter as we get ready to go racing this afternoon.
Staggering to me, Davey Hamilton, that Kyle Kirkwood says it wasn't even a really great qualifying session for us, and he still grabbed the pole by 2 tenths.
Yeah, by almost 3 tenths, actually. But, how impressive is that? And he's on a roll with two poles, as he says, for this doubleheader weekend here at WeatherTech Speedway. And I tell you, he's in the catbird seat right now. I mean, he needs to continue. I know he's behind in points, but not by a lot. He needs to just keep doing what he's doing, and that's getting these poles and winning races. But Malukas, he can get the job done. It's a great championship battle. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tight that by the end of today, it could change hands, the points lead. It's gone back and forth all season long. It's back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Yeah, I've got Linus Lundqvist here. Linus, P3 overall. Going to be a row 2 starting spot. You're going to have to be attacking early here. There's an opportunity to attack at the start of this racetrack. Overall, are you happy with the way the race car is and the way the weekend's progressing for you guys?
I mean, we always want a bit more. I mean, we're here to win and to get pole positions, and unfortunately, we weren't really able to fight for it today. But I know that the team will come back strong, and the races where the points are being handed out, and like I say, hopefully we'll have an opportunity in turn 1 So we'll see, but I'm confident that we'll bounce back in the race.
Obviously, there's speed on a qualifying lap, but there's speed, of course, as well in a long run race. You guys tested here. Did you guys do any long runs that you think you're going to be comfortable with the car?
Yeah, I think we actually focused on the long runs and make sure that we have a good race car. Because around here, the tire deck is quite high. So if you can save a bit of the tire and then jump back strong at the end of the race, then hopefully we can have a fight for it.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Linus Lundqvist, guys, P3 in qualifying. Let's go over now to Alex Wolff.
Oh, Rob, we have David Malukas, and David, out there in that qualifying session, was there anything left in that 79 car, or do you just have to tip your cap to Kirkwood?
No, I think we had a good gain from yesterday. You know, we found those 2 or 3 tenths that we needed, but I think we just missed the kind of peak zone. You know, the car was much better, and I was not really used to the car being at that level, so I had to change my line a little bit. So I think because of that, you know, even at the end of the run, we were still getting quicker and quicker, and I think we missed that, you know, kind of zone where we could get that extra 2 tenths to be with Kyle. But no, but at the same time, hats off to them. You know, they found something for sure, but I think we gained a little bit on them. And I think for the longer runs, I don't know, I think it's going to be a bit more even. But we'll see in the races. You know, this track is not the easiest to pass, so it'll be interesting.
You know, it's a question I've always wondered in these qualifying sessions. I know it's serious business. You're going for the championship. When you're out there in a 30-minute session like this, just going for the ultimate lap, in some ways, is it a little bit of fun out there when you're doing it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always fun. I love Laguna. You know, this is the perfect track that if you're just end up being alone and there's a bit of a gap, you're still going to have a good time. I mean, coming down the corkscrew, there's nothing like it.
Well, you talked about it a little bit with the long runs, rolling off in the 3rd position a little bit later today. You're not going to have to look far for your title adversary. What's the outlook for the race?
Yeah, we'll see.
We will definitely see about that. Best of luck today, and congratulations on a great qualifying effort.
Thank you.
That's David Malukas.
We will see, and we will describe all of that action for you a little bit later today, 12:35 Pacific time, 3:35 Eastern for Indy Lights race number 1. Next up on these IndyCar radio airwaves, it is NTT IndyCar Series practice number 2. The stars of the NTT IndyCar Series back on track at 10:45 Pacific time, 1:45 for the entire crew. My name's Nick Yeoman. We'll talk to you then here on IndyCar Radio. It's the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey race weekend at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca.
Fire can strike at any time, and being prepared is vital. Fireball products are designed to put fires out and keep them out. Used by firefighters worldwide, Fireball is a fluorine-free, non-toxic foam that is used by IndyCar and carried in the Enforcer fire suppression systems on the safety team trucks and refueling areas to protect drivers and crew members on track. Available in personal foam cans for boats, RVs, and homes, Fireball and Enforcer are an official partner of the AMR IndyCar safety team. Fireball, quick, effective, and safe. Who wants to win a $250 Firestone Complete Auto Care gift card? Or take home some Firestone gear? Stop by the Firestone Fan Experience in the Haggerty Marketplace, located next to the lake. Capture your Firestone legendary moment with an epic video. Then visit the Share Your Moment machine for your chance to win big. Plenty of fun, lots of action, and IndyCar experiences you'll want to share. All new this year are the family activities in the Haggerty Marketplace. Take a ride on the Ferris wheel or test your skills on the all-new go-kart near Turn 2. There's so much in the Haggerty Marketplace to experience, so visit and enjoy today. Need new tires? Firestone is the proud sponsor of the NTT IndyCar Series and the sponsor of this weekend. Firestone is dedicated to providing only the safest and most dependable tires on the market. Steeped in racing, Firestone brings track performance technology to everyday road-going cars. For more information, visit firestonetire.com. As the temperature rises, please be sure to stay hydrated with water and Gatorade. We want you to experience here safely. Enjoy. And again, on behalf of the entire WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca team, welcome back to the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey.